German army, assess, but usually he wore civilian clothes, and he came and picked me out from the group in order to assign me to one of his factories, which was a brick factory. We went down. It was called, originally it was called the Glowacki, because Glowacki was the original owner of the factory before the war. And but then later on, the name of this German was Jäger, and it was called, from this day on, it was called after his name. Whoever worked there was definitely known to work at Jäger's place. We worked there on different positions. My first position was in the mechanical workshop, where I had to do soldering of water pipes, big, huge water pipes. I had to learn it, and I was soldering water pipes. After a short while in the mechanical workshop, I was assigned to, as a helper, to a mason, who was a German Pole, Volksdeutscher. Yeah? And in order to help him, and his job was build heating ovens for the German households. And one of the households we built an oven was in Jäger's home itself. This helped me at a later stage, where I may mention it later on. The food situation here was halfway bearable, because we came in contact also with the non-Jews, and the same mason, he himself, for money, he brought in every day some food to sell, and we were able to somehow to get along.
You lived at the Yavne school during this time?
No, we stayed in the Yavne school only for 3 days.
Oh, I see.
Yes. After the evacuation, we were assigned to the ghetto. Became a small ghetto. On this day, the ghetto became a small ghetto. Only one half of a street was boarded up with boards, which was adjacent also to the Jewish cemetery, and 8 or 9 or 10 people were assigned to one room, where we had to live until the final evacuation, termination or closing of this small ghetto. This was called the small ghetto, which was only half of one street in the whole town. But there were not too many people left anymore.
And when did you leave this situation, Mr. Topel? When did you leave the ghetto, and what happened after that?
The ghetto was closed on in March 1943. In the small ghetto, I stayed from the actually the first evacuation, which was in October 42, until March 43. I stayed in the small ghetto. In 43, actually maybe it was I'm sorry, there was a month in January of 43, they conducted a second evacuation. And people who were rounded up from all over were gathered in our town, and they were shipped off to Treblinka from there. Myself, I have to add, I have been lucky also on this occasion, when Jäger, this German who knew me from building his heating oven in his home, he noticed me in the group to be sent away to Treblinka. He ran over and he pulled me out. He said, "My Maurer," which is my builder, he is not going to go away, and he pulled me back where I stayed in the ghetto. I still continued to work in his place until March of 43. March 43, the ghetto was closed. Most of the people worked actually in the steel factory in Ostrowiec, which was also a very large factory. Over 20,000 people worked there. myself included in a group of 125 so-called professionals were chosen to be sent away to, for us, an unknown destination. We were put on a train on which we stayed for nearly 2 days, arriving 2 days later at a place called Blizyn, which was only about 70 kilometers from our town, but nevertheless the journey took nearly 2 days to arrive there.
Could you spell that for us, please?
B-L-Y-Z with a dot on top, Y-N, or maybe maybe it was B-L-I-Z-Y-N. I think it was B-L-I-Z-Y-N. Yes, it was a camp, a concentration camp run by the SS and also by the Ukrainian guards. This camp was, I feel, the worst place that a human being could ever imagine being in. We worked on the first 11 months, we worked on a stone quarry, because there were no other jobs available in the camp itself. We were the first, one of the first groups who arrived there. My number was 534 in this camp, and we went out every day to work on a 12-hour shift on the in the stone quarry. The food situation in Blizyn was unbearable. So were the shootings and beatings daily occurrences. A few times, and I'm just going to mention once, were especially the Sunday appels, where they put us out for counting, which was a daily occurrence, but especially the Sunday appels were the most terrifying, horrifying that could be. Not once the Sturmbannführer who ran the camp, his name was Nell, N-E-double-L. He ordered his henchmen to pick out every 10th from the first row, took them out. The Ukrainians escorted them outside the forest, outside of the camp, and they were over there summarily shot. And this happened a few times during the first 11 months that Nell ran the camp. Also, the food situation was very, very bad. We hardly received a small, tiny slice of bread every day, and a watery little bit of soup. The situation outside on the in the stone quarry, we worked there with Poles, where we had to pay for a bread 100-fold, whatever the same bread cost. It cost 5 zloty in a bakery outside. We had to pay 500 in order for them to bring in a bread that we again risking our lives in order to bring it in back to the camp. Times the very same Poles who sold us this bread squealed on us to the Ukrainian guards and told them, listen, this and this fellow bought for me a bread and he has it on him. Again, it was death on the spot by finding out. Usually the Ukrainians were not allowed to search us, but by entering the camp after finishing a day's work, we were stopped many times to be searched. One occasion where I happened to have been, we walked in five in a row. On one occasion I happened to have been in the 4th row from the front, and the SS stopped us inside the camp in order that everyone who has something, some food with them, should